Hello and welcome back, I'm Sean, and today we're checking out one of the best mobile phone gimbals that I've tested till date, the Hohem iSteady M7, so let's check it out. So the first thing I like about this gimbal is how well thought out this gimbal really is, and there is just so many features and tech on this gimbal that makes traditional gimbals kinda obsolete. And for one, when you're using your phone in ultra wide camera mode, a regular gimbal will block the camera. But with the M7, all you gotta do is tap 4 times here and it'll put the gimbal into ultra wide mode and you're good to go. So the next thing I love about this gimbal is the integrated screen and how you can just remove it and use it as a remote control to control everything on the gimbal, including motor balance, movement speed, AB point setting, and more. And not to mention that the screen you get here isn't just a monitor but also a touchscreen that you can use to select subjects for tracking. And yes, you heard me right, there is AI subject tracking with this screen. All you need to do is just either double tap on a subject or you can just drag, and this is a touch screen and it will start tracking. So how does it do it? So the reason this gimbal can track is because this gimbal comes with an AI camera that magnetically sits on top of the gimbal that tracks the subject, which is very cool. And this magnetic AI camera is not just a camera, it also comes with a very cool feature which is a built-in light source. So I can turn it on here and you can see I can actually brighten it, or I can actually change the color. And if I click on it again, I can actually reduce the brightness or increase the brightness to its maximum. And not just warm white or cool white, you can actually have a whole host of RGB colors that you can toggle between. So you can see that I'm changing the colors, it's a full RGB range, and you can also select the brightness to it. So this is actually a super cool gimbal. And all of those lights is controlled using this very smooth dial at the side here where you can control it, which is super smooth and super nice. You can also use this to control many different things, including controlling the focus feature, or you can also control the tilt using this roller itself. And I also like the fact that Hohem gives you a beautiful hard case to carry your gimbal around, and because this hard case has a special way for the gimbal to sit inside, all of the arms around the gimbal can be locked, so you can actually travel with them with ease. So I can lock all of this arm so I can actually put it into the case itself. So once you lock everything, it's not going to move and you can just put it into your case very nicely. And speaking of the gimbal arm, the gimbal holds large phones upwards of 500 grams, which is about half a kilo payload if you think about it. And even phones like the iPhone Pro Max series with a case on still works fine and is easily balanced out of the box without extra adjustment. So on top of that, I've already mentioned you also get a 12-hour battery life with this gimbal, so you're definitely getting all-day performance here, and you can definitely use this gimbal for reverse charging if your phone runs out of battery. Another aspect that I love about the Hohem also provides you with their own app, very full-featured camera app that you can also use it to select and track subjects with. And finally, one of the best features, this gimbal comes with a 193mm extension pole built right into the gimbal, so you can use those extra highs or extra low shots. So honestly, there isn't a lot there to dislike about this gimbal, and Hohem really puts quality and thought into building this gimbal. And the first noticeable thing is the weight of the gimbal. Granted, it's not a very heavy gimbal. The body weighs in at around 629 grams. The tripod here, 118.5 grams, which is removable, totaling at about 747.5 grams. So this is before any payload. And if you load it with the max payload of 500 grams, you're looking at over 1.2 kilograms of weight, and that's quite noticeable weight when you need to balance around and move the gimbal around slowly to shoot all day long. So that's something to think about. So another thing to consider is that this gimbal works best in landscape mode, and although it supports portrait mode, you still need to manually flip the phone holder in order to support it in portrait mode. And I do notice that the movement, especially for bigger phones, does get obstructed if you do not balance it properly, and it'll sometimes bump into one of its arms, so it takes quite a bit of finesse to use it in portrait mode. And charging this is also not the fastest, and it takes roughly 3 hours to fully charge it from empty. And I do notice a drop in battery life when you're not using your gimbal for a while, and in a week's time I noticed that the battery dropped about 1/3 even when not using it. So this is common for some batteries, and I also noticed this kind of behavior in my action cameras like GoPro. So with that said, the Hohem iSteady M7 comes in at the price of $299 or around 1,200 Malaysian ringgit, which makes it a top tier mobile phone gimbal, but with the specs and features to justify it, so it's really awesome. And if you find value in what you hear and like what you see, do subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so the YouTube algorithm can pick this up. And if you'd like to buy this gimbal, do check out my links below. So when using any gimbal, it's always good to have leverage. So in my opinion, the longer handle that gives you more stability when holding this gimbal. So always use it with the included tripod legs in my opinion, and I think it works great to help keep the device steady, and I always use it with a tripod. So if you just use it with the handle itself, it doesn't feel as stable. And also some misunderstanding of gimbals is that just because you have a gimbal, you can move around, jump around, and just take note that you still need graceful and slow movements to get those cinematic shots. And I especially love that it's a screen that you can pull it off the body. It acts like a remote for the gimbal, and using the joystick, you can precisely pan and tilt the gimbal, and what Hohem built into the control is smooth, slow controls. So moving the joystick slowly helps you move the gimbal head slowly and cinematically, and if you want quick movements, you can also move the joystick faster and it will react accordingly. So the joystick also moves in 3D space, so you can tilt and pan in the same time. And one of the controls I think is really useful when using the M7 is that you can quickly change the feature of the roller by double clicking on the roller button itself. So you can change it between focus control, which lets you slow focus control, and double pressing that again lets you control the tilt. So you can use the roller to slowly control the tilt. It's useful when you only want the gimbal to be in pan follow mode and not pan tilt follow, so you can have more control on the tilting of the gimbal. So if you triple press on the button on the roller, it will also switch between warm lighting as well as the RGB lighting controls. So in panel mode for me is great. However, if you're using the remote, I noticed that you will need to set the panel in the app itself to be the preferred panel shot that you want, because I noticed that it doesn't matter which panel you choose in the control itself, the app will always shoot it in the one you choose in the app. So also you need to be in the Hohem app and in panel mode and not in other mode, as it wouldn't work anywhere else. So the ultra wide angle mode is also really useful, and since many of our phones now support ultra wide lens, it's cool that you can just tap 4 times on the trigger to put it into ultra wide mode, so it gets the gimbal arms out of the way and you won't see it in your shot. And some basic movements with the trigger here. So if you click once on the trigger, it will lock the tilt if you are in pan tilt follow mode. Click twice to recenter the gimbal, click 3 times to go into selfie mode, and click 4 times to go into ultra wide mode. And finally, AI tracking is also useful, and it works great in tracking subjects using the AI camera at the top here. It's pretty good at following and tracking even with fast movements. However, know that if you hide and move out of frame of the AI camera, and it won't be able to track you again until you go back into frame. And to activate tracking is really simple. You can either select your subject using the remote touchscreen or double tap your subject, or inside the Hohem Joy app, just drag and highlight your subject and it'll start tracking it. And the good thing here is that you can turn the AI camera around, since it's magnetic, to use it to track you if you want to use the front camera to film yourself. So the gimbal here is designed meticulously with very good thought and consideration, and everything you can touch here is all high quality materials. And as I mentioned, although the weight of the gimbal here is not that much, along with the phone, a weight of 1.2 kilograms is still going to feel heavy after a while, so do take note of that. And the entire body of the gimbal is wrapped in this nice grippy textured material, all the way from the body to the tripod, and even with the roller wheels right over here. So anything that requires grip and precision will be wrapped in this material. And at the front is also the remote, which is removable and it sits inside magnetically, so you can just pull it out and use it. And it's also a 1.4-inch touchscreen display. And at the top here, you're going to get your 3-axis gimbal that spins freely until you turn it on, and that's when you shouldn't force or move the gimbal when it's on. All of the gimbal arm locks for transportation in the hard case that is provided. And the gimbal is mainly self-balancing, and you just need to put your phone in it and it'll balance it when it turns on. But depending on your phone and orientation, there are 2 main controls here. So there is a ruler here that you can adjust the balance of your phone. And the second control is if you want to use your phone in portrait mode, then you have to simply turn the phone holder manually. And inside here, it also teaches you if you place your phone horizontally or in portrait mode, where the camera should face. And to charge the gimbal, there is a Type-C charging port to charge both the gimbal and the screen at the same time, and the screen will automatically draw power from the gimbal when it's low on power. So next to that is also a 1/4-inch tripod mount for accessory and additional handles. Behind that is the trigger that you can use to control the gimbal. And on the other side, as mentioned, is the roller wheels with its button in the middle, as well as the A/B direction button. So what do you think about this gimbal? Is it something that you would use or bring it onto your holidays for smoother videos, or do you think that using your phone's built-in stabilization is sufficient? So I would definitely love to hear your thoughts, and I personally think there are specific use cases for me to use a gimbal like that, and I'll bring it onto my future travels, but only have it mounted when I'm doing some chase shots or photo shots. And I've also reviewed a smaller gimbal a while back, and I think it's probably another alternative that you can check out if you're in the market for a mobile gimbal. And the Insta360 Flow right over here is what you need to check out. And I'll see you over at that video.